I'm curious for you, I know this was inspired by your own real life. Has the family of the real Bob seen the movie? Because it is such a sweet tribute. And what do they?
Yeah, so Terry is Bob's widow, and I called her up before, before we made it, and I let her know I never told him. I was like, Terry, I never told him what he meant to me, so now I have to tell everybody. And she says, okay, so she came out to our premiere. She came to Palm Springs with us. Hopefully I'll see her again very soon. I also went to Wichita where she lives, and we screened the movie for 40 or 50 of Facebook Bob's friends and family, and it
Oh,
was really beautiful.
that's nice.
And his daughter plays the cashier at the hardware store. A lot of people don't know
Oh,
that.
really?
Yeah.
That's fun to also have that, family member part of this as well.
We are now kind of living the movie. We're a little chosen family outside the film.
And that message of chosen family is so important. I know the cast has also talked about it. I'm just curious for you, why do you think now is such an important time to have a message like this out there?
I think, we think that we're limited to our biological family, and sometimes those are pretty dysfunctional relationships. Not always, but sometimes, And whether you have a great, healthy family or not, you're just not limited to that. And if we can see more people as our family, maybe even the whole world, if you can think of the whole world as potentially your family, then you'll treat people differently. You'll see them differently. Hopefully, they'll see you and understand you better. And I just think that's how I feel and what I believe. And I lived this experience in a way that gave me that kind of hope, that
Mm,
people that you're not related to can become your family, and they
yeah.
can do it in a day. Sometimes someone that you barely know does something kind for you, and all of a sudden they're in your inner circle, and if you allow yourself to be open to that.
And for you, just because this is such a personal story, it's inspired by your real life, you wrote it, you're directing. Can you talk about casting these, especially the key three roles, of Bob, of Lily, of um, French Stewart being in this as well. Just talk about how difficult it was to maybe get them.
Sure, absolutely. So I was a big fan of Barbie. I had loved her work in Euphoria. And, when I was writing it, I was just picturing myself. But then when it came time to cast, I was like, who can do this? Who can do this humor and this vulnerability and this childlike awe and the ability to find magic in the everyday things and that people will trust, an authentic person that people will trust. And I can't think of anybody other than Barbie Ferreira for that. She's self-made, she's powerful and beautiful inside and out. It's exciting to me in general to cast against type. I had kind
Mm,
of, obviously this is a very different role from Euphoria, but I think it really proves she can do anything, and she should
yeah.
be cast in everything. And so John Leguizamo was, I've been watching him my whole life, and it was just a dream come true to work with him. I had seen him do a lot of his more grounded, nuanced performances, and that's what I'd really been drawn to the most, like
Mm,
When They See Us and The Power. And even though I love all his one-man shows, and I love everything he does, but for my kind of work, I was like, oh, how interesting it would be to see him in this. And I met with him, and he's just the kindest person. In one of the interviews, he said, and he was kind of becoming himself in this role. And I feel like he really is himself as Bob here.